That's what he meant.
All right, the time is 6:30, and I will call the work session of the mayor and council to order. We do have a special call work session tomorrow in the conference room to discuss the 78 CID expansion, so everybody remember that tomorrow. Tonight, starting off with our review our regular business and public hearing agenda items. We have Pastor Rowe here from Raymond Hill Missionary Baptist Church. He'll give the invocation. You all received a copy of the announcements. Ceremonial matters, the proclamation. Only the mayor can give a proclamation. The council can give resolutions, and the mayor can give a proclamation. So my issue is at the bottom where it has the council declaring. Either we need to change this to a resolution, or it needs to be the mayor proclaiming something. So that's my problem with the language.
So change to resolution.
Then there'll need to be a change to the agenda.
Okay, we can do that.
And minutes from October 8th, 2012, y'all received a copy of them. Anybody have any changes or objections? We'll have reports tonight from Kelly McElwain with SCAT. I don't know if Mr. Brooks will be here tonight to report. He will be here tonight. Okay, we'll have a report from Mr. Brooks on the 78 CID. We have nothing on tonight's consent agenda. Old business is our public hearing for the racetrack. It's my understanding that they are asking that be tabled tonight. So if I can have a motion to table it to our next council agenda, or do you want more time than that?
November
November 12th. So if I can have a motion at the appropriate time, I am going to allow, if anyone's here from the public to comment, I am going to allow public comment on that tonight. In case they can't come back, they were expecting it today, but otherwise if we can have a motion to table it to our November 12th.
Are you going to allow public comment twice then?
I will. New business consideration action on approval of the community garden lease. Tony.
I handed out highlighted version, and just really getting back comments a little late in the ballgame, put it in the packet, so I wanted to go over the request with you live. The request was made that the term be extended beyond 1 year. And that's your first highlight on page 2, paragraph 2. There is a problem. I think your maximum term without having a renewal event is 2 years, because you can't bind the future council. This particular year, you're 1 year, because you have elections coming up. So I don't think we can change that term. It can be renewed, but it's not something that I think would be legally enforceable. Second is on paragraph 3, the request was made that go from $100 to $1, and so that one is up to you guys whether you want to do it or not.
What is the amount that we're renting, or what did we discuss for the property over next to Baker's Rock with the?
I use the same form. I think it says 100, but we haven't heard anything back from them since they got the lease to redraft it. So
No, we've met with them, and Lisa has taken a site visit, I think with the executive director and maybe a board member or something out there. So we'll have an update on that in the next week.
But we're not charging them less. We've asked for the same thing in their contract.
I think it's $100. I'm not sure.
But I'm gonna go back. I think we talked about it. I did think we talked about $1 then.
$1 on it. I mean,
I'm gonna look.
these are not significant. I mean, it's just not going to shield us from any kind of economic trouble. So
Apparently some think it will.
so
Split the difference of $2.
the use of premises, that was the one that was discussed in the meeting the last time. You can see how it's been expanded to be not just a community garden, but a community meeting area and event location, including gardening classes, education events, weddings, meetings, physical exercise, and any other use related to the above aforementioned. So I'm assuming that one looks okay. There's a question about the insurance and using stats insurance, which would be perfectly fine. I think that can be worked out, and as long as we get confirmation that they're willing to extend their coverage to cover this activity, it'll be through the insurance agency. Yes.
I need to back up just for a minute, please.
Okay.
the use of premises, is there any conflict with Parks and Recreation for someone to rent the garden over the park in reference to a wedding? Would we be taking revenue away from the park and giving it to the garden? Is it all lump sum? I mean, I'm a little iffy here as to how that works.
How many weddings have we had in the park?
During wedding season, quite a bit. They rent the gazebo. Because it's
The
got
where?
the lake in the background, the gazebo.
Oh, is he?
And so money that, if it would be in direct competition with our park
I just
gazebo.
don't want competition between the two. I want us to be a happy bunch of people. And so, where are we on that thing? I mean, what happens to that? I don't want to take away from the community garden, and I don't want to take away from Parks and Rec. But if we have a conflict here, then I don't know how to resolve it. I mean, I would need more time to look at it, or is there a conflict? Or should we just let it ride like it is? And let those that want to do it at the gazebo, fine, and those that want to do it at the garden, do it at the garden, and just go from there. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Well, it just comes down to if, I mean, I'm asking, and I think y'all are asking, Lisa to be a little more entrepreneurial, raise a little more money, be, bring in a little more rental money. And the weddings is the only conflict that I see there. Everything else, I think, will be fine, but the wedding part of it is, I think it is a conflict.
There's
Potential conflict.
two completely different settings. I mean, somebody's looking for a gazebo on the lake, they're not gonna do it in the garden. People are looking for a garden, they're not gonna do it down by the gazebo on the lake.
Well,
But they would if that was the only location available to them.
I just wanted it on the table, that's all.
It's good. I mean, it's not a lawyer
Anyway.
issue, it's really a policy issue, and it is competitive. I mean, it creates the issue that's obvious, and you, decision makers have to make that one. The way to remedy the competitive edge is to take the word weddings out of this purpose clause and leave that exclusively to your department. Or give your department instructions over what they're supposed to do when it comes to handling weddings. Well, I told you about the insurance issue. One other thing that's come up is that we don't have electrical service to the site. This has been a clause that's been in here from the beginning, is that the city is responsible for bringing electricity. We don't really know how much that,
Nothing.
nothing.
No, I've met with Walton EMC and they'll drop the power right where we put the pole. It'll be metered and it'll be a fixed cost, whatever it costs.
But how do we know that they're gonna meter it? Because I know that y'all ran a water line and it hasn't been metered and nobody was notified that the water line was being ran.
we've got the water
We've
line.
always said we're putting water over there. We've always said that, and there's a plan in place to put a meter on it, so.
Who on staff was notified before the water line was ran?
We've got the water line addressed, and I just wanted to make sure there will be, you've got Walton EMC, zero cost to, for the power.
Right. And there'll be a meter there when we put our temporary pole and put it all there.
The last one is page 7, item 21, and the issue is described as making improvements, and what that term means. There's a master plan that has already been submitted as to how it would be, how the community garden would be developed. That master plan, even though everything's not in place immediately, it was hoped that that could be the Exhibit A attachment 2, so that those, whatever's in the master plan would be attached as part of the legal description. And then this provision would apply to anything in addition to what's already been revealed. So if they do something besides, if they construct an improvement at the site that's beyond the scope of the master plan, they would come back for approval. The other thing is to clarify, it's everyday operational things they don't have to come to council to approve, and that's not what this term is intended to mean. If they want to make a certain bed deeper or bring in mulch, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about physical structures that are of substance.
Well, if we do everything that master plan says, it's gonna be awesome anyway.
Well, that was the question with 21. So stepping back, if this item is ready for approval tonight, it would be, the motion would have to include a decision on paragraph 3, which is the rental rate, and a decision on whether to leave in the term wedding on the very first sentence of page 3.
Well, as far as the rental rate, and $1 or $100, it doesn't, it's a nominal fee. And if we have to take the weddings off, I guess we have to take the weddings off.
How difficult would it be to put weddings back in at a later date? It's not gonna be suitable for a wedding for years. So if you take it out now, you're really not losing it.
Only a 1-year lease, so.
Right.
Well, I understand that, but you're not gonna have anybody saying, hey, that's nice dirt, I wanna have a wedding there.
Right.
So it's gonna be several years down the road, and I think we can address
I'm
it.
saying it's only a 1-year lease, so you can address it in the next
Well,
lease.
okay, so it's not,
Well, because the lease automatically renews unless terminated by mayor and council. So although it's 1 year, it's automatically renewable unless mayor and council decide that they're going to take the land back. So if whatever's in here would be renewable year after year.
yeah, but you could amend it when you renew it.
It's on the computer. You just put the word in, take it out. I mean, it's easy to do, so.
And I have no doubt that there will be a lot of communication between the garden and Lisa and the rec, and Gay and Public Works, just like there has been to this point. If Lisa has 10 requests, you know, can we go to the garden? Can we want to go in the garden? We're gonna bring it up and we'll address it at, you know, in that annual renewal. I mean, we're gonna communicate. We gotta work together. And, cause it's an asset that will benefit the park and the city.
The signature pages would not have the Schultz names on it. It would be signed by staff in their corporate capacity. So it would just bear the seal and signature of their president, not the individual. But there was some question about liability, but I think those names were attached to it simply because it started off not a staff project.
I just need a little clarification on the utility items. I heard Councilman Howard saying, once the fault is identified, EMC would come up and plug some outlets. I assume, who's paying?
No charge.
EMC is gonna keep the bill on that completely?
And
Is that for 1 year?
Just like they did when I put the pole in the park 4 years ago.
Is that just,
There's no cost to the city. There will be no cost to the city when we put it over at the garden.
is that unlimited throughout the years, or just that one more, just one?
They drop it. Once the
EMC
meter's out, you
only
pay
does one
monthly.
thing.
Okay, so installation is one thing, and then the charges, who's gonna pay for the monthly charge?
Okay.
And it's both of
Been
those.
the plan the whole time.
We have no exposure on either of those, because under the agreement, if there was a charge for the utilities being installed, it would go to the garden and, or no, I'm sorry, it goes to the city there is that. You know, we're not approving any amount with this acquisition because it's,
Walt EMC has agreed to do it without any cost.
right,
For the benefit of those who want to enjoy the community garden.
and the
For
utility.
those in our community that wanna have a garden.
And the utility charges are allocated to staff to pay, so we did take that risk out.
Can we just say the electric service shall be provided pursuant to the zero-cost agreement between Walton EMC?
Just put in the installation to be at no cost to the city.
Yeah.
The termination, there's no time requirement for the city to give notice to the garden if we choose to terminate. The garden may want something in there to protect themselves.
Did you hear the subject matter? If the termination of the lease doesn't give a notice provision, and if you wanted a notice provision for termination, we would have to add that some period of time.
What do we give the people next to Baker's?
90 days?
I don't remember.
I think we should put whatever provision was in that in the list.
I think it was 90 days. 90 or 120 days.
Yes.
Either 90 or
else on the lease? Moving on, consideration action on a resolution approving energy access tax and intergovernmental agreement authorizing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city. Mr. Sanders.
That is the item that we discussed, I think, in the last meeting. It is a replacement tax for the sales tax that is being removed over 4 years on manufacturing. And it appears now that the county is gonna move ahead with that. And it really is a no-brainer type of action. We act and we receive, we don't know what amount, but a supposed replacement revenue for that sales tax, which will be lost. And if we don't enter into this agreement allowing the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the county, then the county will get the money, whatever it is. So it's it's pretty easy, clear-cut decision, it seems like to me.
Do we have any correspondence to review? Oh, I'm sorry, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Sanders on the excess tax? Have any correspondence to review? City attorney's report?
I handed out everything that I had.
Report on the public safety, old public safety building.
That building with Tony's opinion, the URA is not the organization that can move forward on marketing and selling that property. We would like to, in talking to the chief, we visited the building, we would like to have it surveyed and retain the piece of property that we need, smallest piece of property that we need for an impoundment facility. Go ahead and have the facility reappraised and just work on marketing that piece of property internally.
Are we restricted though, as that, we have to put off a bid and the lowest bidder, highest bidder and all that, if we do it that way?
We're
Rather than
restricted
being
as to the method.
You are.
That we can.
If you were, you got an auction or sealed bid to sell, but, what you're talking about is the marketing aspect of it. Putting a sign on it, letting people know that you want to sell it. And that can be done through negotiation. It's just got to be subject to the bidding process. So if you had a buyer, which I think there is a party who would like to purchase your property. If you are willing to, if you find somebody like that who has the price that you're willing, then you go through the advertising process.
What happens though if I come and I say, you have it up for sale, I want to bid on it. I'm not gonna tell you what my price is, I want to bid on it, because I don't want somebody else to bid $1 more than me. So what's the date? Let's have a sealed bid.
We
You
can
can
put a
do it that
reserve
way.
on the bid though.
Yeah,
That
you
can
can
happen,
do
right?
it, you can do it that way too. It's finding people who are willing to at least pay the minimum amount that would require for you to sell it.
But are we allowed to set a minimum price?
Sure, yeah.
And usually that's the appraisal number.
Right. You can set a minimum,
So we can set a reserve.
and go ahead and you can do that with an auction. I mean, you can not set a reserve and still reject all the bids. I mean, you just have to advertise that it's gonna be sold that way. I mean,
So, but I think before we get to any of that, I think the next step,
Is the
tell me when we
survey.
do the survey and to take out what we want, to do the survey and get a new appraisal on it. Because we all think this price or that price, but we really don't know because we haven't had appraisal in,
Well, it's been a little over a year, but I don't think the appraisal was right based on the property.
condition of the property.
And the chief has done a good job. He has minimized the property he would need out there. I really don't think it's going to overly impact the appraisal price.
How long will it take to, do you need council's approval to do the appraisal? Is it something that needs to be funded?
I think so. I'd
So
like
can we go
council
ahead and put
approval.
that on the next agenda so we can authorize the appraisal and then
Survey and appraisal.
we'll put it on a future agenda then to discuss the results or put it on an exec session once that comes back. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Sanders on that? Okay. The foreclosed or vacant property registration, I think we're gonna drop that.
We've had good results in setting up our nuisance actions to do the same thing. We've even got one SunTrust target on one of our nuisance actions. So our recommendation was just to let us continue to do what we've been doing and step up the pace of our nuisance actions. Not worry about the foreclosure registry. If it becomes something that becomes a real problem for us, we bring it back to you.
And the city attorney's office has worked with planning and development to prioritize. I think we've got about 8 coming up on the next court date. So the judge has been very businesslike about it, and I anticipate that we'll continue to be successful.
Any questions about the new process that we have in place? We went, the sign ordinance states for special call meeting, we went, my dates are running together, I don't know, last week, the week before, we went on the sign tour. I don't know, Mr. Davis, if y'all had a chance to do anything with the information we provided with John and Jason. We do want to schedule, though, a special called work session for the sign ordinance to meet with the Board of Appeals and the Planning Commission, and also to review that feedback. We could call that in the next couple of weeks, or we can wait. It doesn't look like we're gonna have a whole lot on the November 26th, and so if council decides we want to have that meeting on November 26th, we could address the sign issues then, instead of calling a separate meeting, or we can call it.
I don't think an hour is gonna get through all the stuff on the sign ordinance. I don't think that'll do it.
Right, I'm saying we don't have anything on our regular agenda, so we're not gonna really be meeting.
If you're gonna
on
cancel the public hearing, you just have work session.
Right, if y'all wanna do it on that date, or if you want to, I mean, if we have to have an emergency, something on there, we can have a short meeting, but if you wanna come up with another date, we can do another date, or we can do it on the 26th.
I'm fine
There
with
may possibly, hopefully, our fingers crossed, there may be another issue on the 26th as well to talk about in work session. It's possible we may have our performance audit back. If we do, I intended to put that on the 26th, but I'm not gonna hold my breath necessarily, that would put it back.
I'd be good on the 26th.
Good, I'll be back.
And that way, staff wouldn't have to do a whole lot in setting an agenda, it would just be that 1 or 2 topics. Is everybody okay with that? Mr. Davis, does that give you enough time to get everything together? Will your staff be here on the 26th? Will you be here?
I'll be here.
That's all that matters.
And that'll be for appeals and, as well, or?
We'll send out an invitation to appeals, probably send out an invitation. Mr. Davis sent the ordinance to Shop on Scenic people, he sent it to the Board of Appeals, the Planning Commission, so we'll just send out a mass email to everyone that will be having a work session, so they can come and give some input they
And
can.
everybody participates.
I've already checked with my boards, and I had one person who couldn't come anytime in November, but outside of that, we're good.
Okay, thank you. Summit Chase Dam.